you can't argue with viewership. You can't argue with 36 million sets of eyeballs, and you can hold up the time the campaign ran against sales in store and try to suggest there's some causal link. And I guess sales have been up for Old Spice. Again, irrespective of whatever else they're doing in the market, sales did seem to tick up. So at some level, you have to think, well, what's wrong with this picture? I mean, they did funny, great stuff. They got a whole bunch of attention, and sales certainly aren't hurting because of it. Burger King did something similar with some of their, the Alex Bogosky stuff that was quite challenging, and in fact hurt Burger King sales during the same period this stuff was running. But so I think at one level you can't argue with the Old Spice strategy. On the other hand, you should be asking some questions, and a lot of the social folks are busy trying to see proof of its utility versus trying to really understand what the dynamic is. In other words, they're trying to prove their a priori belief that it worked by trying to find evidence that it worked. And at some level, holding up the campaign and looking at sales and saying they're connected is sort of like saying, well, then the campaign is also responsible for anything else that occurred during the time period, like the sun setting, the sun rising, clouds flying across the sky. I mean, there's no implicit connection. I think the challenge is to look at what was the content of that experience. The viral videos were hilarious, they are funny, they are engaging, they are entertaining, and they have absolutely no mid to long-term relevance to Old Spice as a brand. You can't own funny. You can't own sexy. So at another level, I think the campaign illustrated that you can do anything to get people's attention. You can drop Mentos into Coke bottles and have them explode and get great viewership of that too. But the question I'd ask is, what does that do for the branding and for the marketing mid to long term? It got Old Spice to perhaps to the top of the list of anybody who might have been going to the store that day or that week, and maybe they gave it a try, and maybe it ticked up sales. But I'm thinking, if I'm going to try to get 36 million pairs of eyeballs to pay attention to my brand, I think I'd like to figure out a way to tell them something that was a bit more meaningful. And again, not meaningful in a boring, dull, utilitarian way, but in a useful, relevant, worth remembering sort of way. And I think that's part of the dynamic I think we've lost in some of these experiments, and that we are so, as marketers, dying to prove that we can still get people's attention. But look at what we're paying to get that attention. We're in fact having to give up telling them anything commercially relevant. And that's a kind of an interesting trade-off to a business. So the only way I can talk to consumers and get their attention is if I don't tell them anything that's really important to me. Then why am I paying money to do that?